What's going on YouTube? Nathan back here with another video presentation. In this here video, what I'm going to talk to you guys about is Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas was cut by the Baltimore Ravens. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you why I believe he was cut. I mean, we all know, but there are some other issues that I feel like they need to be brought to the table. But before we get into the video, there's some things I want to say up front. I have produced the part 4 to the I would consider this a series, a topic that I feel like is that could start a conversation in terms of dating and who we're dating, particularly in today's society and different things like that. That video, I'm hoping to have it up sometime tomorrow or by Wednesday. I'm also going to record another video. It is regarding a situation that occurred over the weekend with the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers. Luka Doncic for the Dallas Mavericks and Montrezl Harrell for the Los Angeles Clippers. There was something that was said by Harrell towards Doncic, and that sparked a conversation where for the past few days we have seen people take sides on this situation that occurred. And in that video, I'm going to really talk about where I stand with that issue. I have also had a video that premiered on Sunday with Jonathan Isaac. Please, I suggest you take a listen to that video. I also have a MLB The Show 7th inning program update to let you guys know where I'm at with that. As we believe sometime probably in the first week of September, that is when the 8th inning program will start. But with that being said, we're going to get into the video. Earl Thomas, we all know who he is. Arguably one of the best safeties in the game. Hall of Famer in my book. Was cut Monday by the Baltimore Ravens. From what we understand, there were players in that locker room we're saying he wasn't well liked. He put himself before the team. We don't really have all the facts, guys. It's kind of interesting to hear this issue, because I believe today they were at M&T Bank Stadium with their first training session there. And a lot of people, few reporters were asking them about Earl Thomas, and a lot of them really honestly just were kind of, hey, look, it happened, we're moving forward. Particularly Harbaugh, Coach John Harbaugh. And listen, Earl Thomas, we understand. We know the last few years, him coming back off an injury that we thought, we didn't think, some of us that thought he would never come back from. We know, he's a rough rider. We know the type of player he is. But let's call it what it is. What happened in Seattle, we get it. I understand. He wanted to be paid. The Seahawks were not going to pay him. Obviously, management was obviously going in a new direction. We all know that night against, I believe it was against the Cardinals, when he got injured, him throwing up the middle finger towards Pete Carroll. And that pretty much signaled hit the end of an era in Seattle for him. Now, I'm going to be honest. Personally, when he went in that locker, I believe it was against the Cowboys, he went into the locker room, or he chased after Jason Garnett and said, hey, come get me. I believe that was writing on the wall for Earl Thomas. I believe that personally, that's where he really wants to be. I don't. I just don't know where where Earl Thomas is at right now. I don't understand because when he signed with the Ravens, I thought that would be a good signing because he brings toughness, he brings a quiet leadership, and he brings that. He's not the same guy. We listen. We know he's not the same player, but he's going to go out there and give you his all. We know this. We also know that a 4-year, $55 million deal, $32 million guaranteed. Yes, there's going to be some expectations. Now, we're not saying you have to go out there and win us a Super Bowl, because in no way, shape, or form did he impede our success. Absolutely not. Are there some plays, some moments where we question what he was doing? Absolutely. But for the most part, let's keep it real. Earl Thomas had a good season. But when you're cut from a team on a contract detrimental to the team, when you're cut like that, something else is there. Now, one would argue, we know that what happened in the offseason with him and his brother clapping them cheeks with another woman, and his wife, I believe, found his location on Snapchat or something like that. Went to the the rented place with some of her friends, held him at gunpoint. Obviously, she was arrested for that, and from what I understand, you haven't know really much about what happened after that. One would surmise that the recent behaviors, particularly in practice, him showing up to late for practices, showing up to meetings late. One would argue that some people had a problem with that, particularly the young guys. Because like I said, when you sign a guy like that, see, here's the thing. When you look at the Ravens, for example, the Ravens over the years have had tremendous leaders on that team. Shannon Sharp, for example, Jonathan Ogden, Ray Lewis, T. Suggs, Ed Reed, Rod Woodson, Anquan Bolden have had leaders on this team. You would think with a defense like that, with young talent like a Chuck Clark, like a Deshaun Elliott, like Marlon Humphrey, Jalen Ferguson, you would think he would be a mentor to some of these young guys. A lot of guys were not feeling the fact that he was putting himself first and not the team. One would argue some were uncomfortable with his play because a lot of times people were saying he was freestyling. Because we all listen, Seattle ran that cover 3 defense, and that's what he's comfortable with. For the type of defense that Baltimore has, that's always been their gym. It's always been their defense for years. He couldn't gel well with that, so he freestyled. Am I questioning his heart and determination? Absolutely not, because Earl Thomas, for the most part, I would say had a really good year. I wouldn't say it was like him in Seattle, but he had a comeback year. Not to where he's MVP, but he's letting people know, hey, I still got it. One would argue that some of his performances on the field put him in this position. When the Cleveland Browns went to M&T Bank Stadium and shitted on the Ravens, I believe it was Nick Chubb. He broke an 88-yard touchdown. Earl Thomas gave up on that play. His performance against the Titans in the divisional playoff round, where Derrick Henry was like looking as like a lead blocker, whose Earl Thomas was virtually a rag doll. Him getting in a fight with Brandon Williams after the Cleveland Browns lost. Some guys had an issue with that. Guys went to Harbaugh in front office and said, listen, we can't have this. We want him gone. Now, me personally, I'm one of these type of people. If there's an issue, let's sit down and talk about it. Particularly if it's a team, if it's team based. Because listen, I don't care what happens in the offseason. I don't care what Earl does off the field. When you step into this practice facility, you need to check all that at the door. Because that's a brotherhood. And I would be very, very highly irritated, upset, if all this was done just to play for the Dallas Cowboys. Because, I mean, essentially that's where he wants to go. He didn't have to accept this 4-year. He didn't have to accept the 4-year deal. He didn't have to. But to be cut by the Baltimore Ravens, who we know is a first-class organization. Eric DeCosta is not running the show now that Ozzie Newsome has stepped back and is now more of an advisory role. Someone said, can't remember who was saying, but someone said that the Ravens need to pay him $10 million. We will see what happens with that, because we know that Earl Thomas is going to file a grievance, and so are the Baltimore Ravens. We know that. We also know that what message this sends to other NFL teams. Because really, also too, what people are forgetting, what he did when posting, I believe it was a practice video of the play where he and Chuck Clark got into it. You can't do that. You cannot do that. There's no preseason this season, and you want to make sure that you're going to get as much out of practice as you can. You can't do that. Earl Thomas knows that. So if you're the Dallas Cowboys, if you're Jerry Jones, why they were asked about Earl Thomas, I don't know. But if you're Jerry Jones, and I'm pretty sure what happened, are you going to sit down with Earl Thomas? Are you going to have the leaders of that locker room sit down with Earl and say, hey, listen, we see what's going on. Now, I'm not going to go as far as saying he's another Antonio Brown, because he's not. Earl Thomas, I don't know him from a can of paint. He looks like a nice guy, quiet person, but I just think that either he needs to take some time for himself, or take some time for himself before getting back on the football field. Because if any of these teams that are interested in Earl Thomas, I believe there's a couple that are saying, no, we're not interested now. Because if the Ravens If the Baltimore Ravens letting you go, something's wrong with that. Now, I don't know where Earl Thomas goes after this. I wish him all nothing but the best. I mean, he said it here on his Instagram. Here, I'll read it to you. Give me a second. Appreciate the Ravens organization for the opportunity. Had a great run. Wish things would have ended different. But you live and you learn. Thank you, Eric DeCosta, and everyone else who played a role in bringing me to being more. Wish you guys the best. Obviously, he was being sarcastic there. I mean, you always want to wish guys the best, but I could tell it's a little sarcasm there. But where does Earl Thomas go from here? I don't know. Why I made this video, some people want to say, well, you said virtually nothing for almost 16 minutes now. Something else is there. For another team, 3 weeks, this is 3 weeks before the NFL season starts, he is cut. That speaks volumes. That says something. And it would not surprise me in the next few days you hear some players in that locker room speak up and speak out against Earl Thomas. It wouldn't faze me. Are the Baltimore Ravens going to be okay without Earl Thomas? Yes. I mean, they have some depth. Deshaun Elliott, is going to have this is his opportunity to step up. I don't know what the season is going to be like. But I'm a little disappointed that they did not want to sit down with him and try to work something out. Now, and it's some research. If they lose the grievance, the Ravens lose the grievance, they have to pay $10 million. And they have $4.2 million in the cap. Well, obviously you need about $5 million for insurance if something happens, if somebody gets hurt. And to add on to the dead cap that the Baltimore Ravens already have, some may argue and say, well, we really we just couldn't afford to pay him. I don't know. But I'm real curious to see the next few days, in probably a week or so, where Earl Thomas is going to go. Everyone's saying Dallas. I don't know. But if you are an NFL team that's interested in Earl Thomas, I would strongly suggest sitting down with him along with the leaders of your locker rooms and understanding, hey, listen, we whatever happened in the offseason or whatever is going on, we're here to support you. But when you step into those training camp doors, the practice facility, you leave it at the door. I'm leaving it at that. If you like the video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. This video may not be public and may be private. I don't know. But I felt it was necessary to make this video because he is a great player. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But talent like that, to be released in that fashion, that says something else. With that being said, I'm out. Peace. Stay up.